Oh my goodness, here we are again. Here we are again. Today we're going to play a little bit of Golf with Friends, because why not? It's a great game, and I'm hitting a miss. Yeah. Golf with Friends. Let's see if we can get it this time. Come on. Ugh. So close. Yeah, so one thing that I was thinking about here lately is making that shot, and then that didn't happen. So we're just going to take the easy way out. Oh, almost had it. See, there you go. I've heard a lot of people talk about like going to college versus having a trade skill. And, to be completely honest with you, I think it really just depends on what you're going for, right? Like, if you're going to college to be like a doctor or a lawyer or a nurse or something that actually legitimately requires like a college degree for whatever reason, then, maybe there's still some value in that. But if you're going to college for something like history or art or, something basically that you could learn on your own through self-study, I don't really think there's any value in that anymore. And here's the thing, like, pretty much bare minimum, if you're going for a bachelor's degree, right? Because an associate's degree, let's just be real, 90% of associate degrees are just completely worthless today. You're not going to learn enough in 2 years to really do much, and in that time frame, like, it's just not a good bang for your buck anymore. Okay, it's just not. The associate degree is just not worth the time, unless you plan to like transfer or something. But even then, uh, I think even if you're getting a bachelor's degree, right, you're going to spend 4 years studying whatever it is you're studying minimum, and that's if you pass everything the first try, and if you don't have any kind of hiccups along the way that forestall you from completing whatever it is you're trying to do within that 4 year period, okay? Which, to be fair, that's kind of rare. I mean, life's going to happen. The chances of you actually being able to complete that degree in 4 years exactly, I mean, plenty of people do it, sure, but I don't know. It's not guaranteed, okay? And you're going to pay a lot of money, and basically just kind of put yourself in a lot of unnecessary debt for something that, depending on what you're going for, might not even be a job at the end of that. Okay, if you're going for like like even something like computer science nowadays, right? That's just such an oversaturated field, and there's so many people that are doing that now. There's no guarantees anymore. Like even and that's like I wouldn't say that's like a waste of time, but the thing is even something like that, the knowledge is not, it's not like it's some secret knowledge that you can only get in college, right? You can easily get that knowledge, from YouTube for free, or by taking any number of courses that's a one-time payment of like maybe $150 or less, depending on the quality of the course, and you're going to get all that knowledge that pertains to whatever it is you're doing. But more importantly, you're not going to have to waste 2.5 years taking courses that are not related to your major, right? And that's a big problem with like, that's always been my biggest problem with college, right? Is if I'm going to college to say, you know, be a lawyer, okay? Okay, maybe no, I'm not going to use being a lawyer. Let me use a better example. If I'm going to college uh, to be an accountant, okay, then wouldn't it make more sense for me to take classes on accounting? Maybe some business classes and stuff too, but like, why do I need to take English? Why do I need to take history to study accounting? It just doesn't, it's just a cash grab, right? There's no point in you having to take all these unrelated classes, or like if you're going to, be somebody that works in IT, or even like a healthcare field or something. A lot of these core academics, like, I'm sorry, you should have already completed that by the time you're in your first year of college. That's what high school's for. Okay? There's no point in you pursuing a degree and then having to take classes that you should have already taken in high school. Like, I can understand colleges having like an aptitude test and stuff to say like, if you can't pass these classes, then perhaps you're not ready to like take the you're not ready for this degree, right? Like that's one thing, but I don't know. It just seems dumb to me that they make you take all these extracurricular activities that have nothing to do with the major that you're there for, because all things being equal, you should already have all that fundamental knowledge that's necessary for people just to like exist in society and function. And you shouldn't have to take a college course on all of this stuff. You should already get all that in high school, and that's the problem, right? Is a lot of people don't get anything out of high school. It's just like a babysitting service. I mean, I know like some high schools are better than others, sure, I acknowledge that, but we're talking on averages. We're talking the public school systems, okay? Public school systems, they kind of suck, okay? I mean, I'm sure there might be some exceptions out there that I'm not aware of, but I'll tell you about my public school experience. My public school experiences was when I was in elementary school, from basically kindergarten to about 5th grade. I felt like I got a decent education. And the data really kind of backs up what I'm saying too, is that that's really where a lot of the funding goes, is those formative years. The education system there is still pretty alright, even for the public schools. But once you get into middle school, it's just a joke. It's just regurgitated, rinse and repeat, just wasting people's time. And it's like other countries don't do that, right? Pretty much in other countries, to my understanding, especially in places like China, once you get out of, I think it's 7th grade or something like that, 7th or 8th grade, you take a test, and the test basically says, are you somebody that is, academically smart or not? And if you're not, they put you in trade school. And that's not to say that everybody that goes to trade school is dumb, not by any means. I mean, you have to be pretty smart nowadays to be a successful technician, I think, because it's so, there's so much technical knowledge involved. But there's no point in sending every single person through the same curriculum, because not everybody has the same aptitudes for learning. Not everybody has the same, again, just aptitudes. So it doesn't make sense to put everybody through the exact same curriculum. You need to test people's actual capacities and see who's good at what and who has aptitudes for what. Just because you're not good at, you might not be good at math, but you might be really good at fixing a car, or you might be really good at, some other trade that's a very necessary component for society to function, and that's what you should be learning, right? You should play to your strengths. And I know a lot of people might be thinking, well, I don't like that system because it removes some of the choice for you. And while I hear you, I understand that argument. Understand that, like, look at what choice has brought most people, right? Most people are now, most people flounder when they have too much choice, right? And that's a problem, right? Just imagine a system where you're not removing all choice. You're just removing things that are going to set people up for failure, right? There's no point in putting somebody in a system where they're just not going to do well. And that's, I kind of feel like what we do is we put everybody through the same processing to where they're just not going to do well because they're in an environment that's not conducive to whatever their strengths are. You need to play to people's strengths, especially when they're young. That's one thing, is we waste so much of young people's time in this country. Like, we really do. I mean, it's just unbelievable, really, how much time young people have, and then how much we just completely take that for granted and just waste it. Like, I never really can understand why we don't have better systems in place that make it to where somebody who's young like that, because when you're young like that, especially before, say, the age of like 16, I mean, the only thing you have is free time. You have a surplus of free time at that age because you're not old enough to work, right? So imagine if, instead of just wasting kids' times and putting them through these academic hurdles where half of them aren't even learning anything anyways, if we just put kids in trade school, or if we apprenticed people, or if we put people in situations where they could actually learn hard skills that they were then going to turn around and use as adults, that would actually make them employable at a younger age, to where they could spend, by the time somebody's 18, they're fully trained, they're fully employable, they're ready to be going into the workforce as a as a profitable employee, and they can start making a good wage right off the bat. I mean, how different would things be if young people didn't have to spend, you know, X number of years just getting the skills to make an entry-level wage that doesn't pay them enough to do anything, and then when they get out on the job market, they still need more training. I mean, right? What's the point of all this, of keeping people in school for 12 freaking years just for them not to be employable when they get out, for them not to have any real hard skills when they get out? And that's such a huge failing of the public school systems, right? It's just really become a babysitting service and just indoctrination for people to behave and think a certain way instead of becoming capable individuals, you know. And I mean, I know there's a lot of politics and stuff behind that, but you know, it's just wrong, man. That's just wrong. We just waste people's time, and that's not the way to do things. And and another thing is, we tell people about like this myth of like, do something you're passionate about, right? Here's the reality, right? Finding a job that you're, quote, passionate about is very rare. Most jobs suck, okay? It's called work and not fun for a reason, because it sucks, all right? Work sucks. If it was fun, they wouldn't call it work, they'd call it fun, okay? And that's just the way it is, okay? Work is not supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be something that you do for money because other people don't want to spend their time doing that thing for money. I mean, it's just really that simple. But you know, you don't want a job that you hate. I mean, certainly, and you do want to find something you're good at, but you've got to find a job that, you know, mostly, like I said, just that you don't hate and that you're good at. And if you're good at what you do, you don't have to love it. You can't hate it. And you need to have the right kind of mentality for it to push through. And most of the time, as long as people are well trained and well compensated, they're fine. You know, if people are paid well for what they do and they're good at what they do, you know, everybody wins in that scenario. It's what the problem is, that people aren't well trained and then they get frustrated because they're also not being paid well, and then it's just a self-defeating prophecy. You know, it's just bad news for everybody. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know really why society hasn't quite been able to grasp that yet. It seems like there is some changes going on. I've definitely noticed there have been some changes that I've noticed kind of in the modern workforce over the past maybe 2 or 3 years, where it seems like employers are finally starting to realize that there's value in training employees well, and that not training employees is costing them more in the long run than just having good training systems. But you know, it's going to take a while for that to catch up across all industries. So, you know, I don't know. I don't ultimately know what the solution is. I'm just kind of spitballing, but I really do think that we have just gutted good training programs in this country. Yeah, so ultimately, I mean, like, I really kind of got off on a rant there, but I really think going into the trades is a better use of people's time than going to college. Like, again, unless you're going for something in the medical field, or to be a doctor or a lawyer, or something that legitimately requires a degree, like even being like an engineer or something, like that might be okay. But you know, anything really outside of like the professional, you know, jobs that truly require a college education, most college degrees are either something you could learn on your own for far cheaper and probably even get a better quality of education on top of it, because you would actually be spending your time studying the things that actually are relevant to what you're trying to learn, and not having to fill your mind with all this unnecessary stuff that you're just going to learn, take a test, and forget. You know, I think people would just be better off. But the trades, right? So yeah, I mean, you're going to make more money, I'll tell you that. Somebody that goes to school for, you know, 6 months to 2 years is going to start at a higher wage and probably definitely make more money in the long run than somebody who has a 4-year bachelor's degree in, say, you know, just some unimportant field, right? I mean, I can tell you, I went to school for computer science, right? I got a 2-year degree and a couple certifications in computer science. Would I say it was a total waste of time? No, I wouldn't say that, but I would say that I definitely could have done it a cheaper way, and honestly, probably, I'll even say definitely got a better result, because at least in my case, I know there's good computer science programs out there and all that, but at least in my case, the teacher I had wasn't very good. She was basically already had one foot out the door because she was more focused on her retirement than trying to actually develop a quality program or teach us anything. So, I wouldn't say it was a complete waste of time. I did learn some stuff there, but I feel like everything that I learned in the 2-year span that I was in community college, I could have just as easily learned on my own for a fraction of the price, and probably gotten, honestly, a better quality of education in the long run. So, yeah, I mean, that's just really the truth, is I really feel like I could have done more on my own. There are some advantages, I guess, to going to college, but like if you're going to a community college, some community colleges, that's kind of a niche, really, because some of them actually do have pretty good programs, especially for the trades. If you're trying to go into like job training or workforce training, that's really where community college kind of shines. And the major universities fall short because they only offer these 4-year programs, and then they require you to take so much just unnecessary, classes and stuff that you're not even going to use. And that's comes back to wasting people's times, right? Like at the end of the day, it's because they need money, and they want to make it as expensive as possible for you, because they have to pay all these administrators, half of which don't even do anything, and then they got to pay administrator salaries, they got to pay all these people, right? So they have to make it expensive for you. And yeah, I mean, there's just no reason why somebody that is going to school should graduate with more debt than they're going to make in a year's salary. Like it just doesn't make sense. It's stupid. So there's just better ways to do all of this. There's just really are. And yeah, telling people about the dream jobs and stuff, like you're not going to find, like, unless you just get really lucky, or it's just dumb luck, right? Like it's just dumb luck that you're gonna happen to just waltz into something that just works out for you, like being an influencer, or just somebody that gets paid to do something they actually enjoy. That's definitely the exception. I mean, yeah, you can monetize, like, I'm not going to say maybe not anything, but because of the internet and stuff, like, yeah, you can monetize a hobby. That's definitely true. You can do that now, whereas you couldn't do that, 30 years ago. But I just think that, let's see where that goes. It's just if you're trying to be practical and you want and you want stability, right? Because doing something like this, being an influencer, that's not stable. You might have a great month one month, and the next month you make nothing, right? So it's really all up in the air. You just never know. Like if you're gonna do something like this, do it because you enjoy doing it, and if it happens to make you money, well then awesome. But don't rely on it. And that's what, like, so many people have told, like, especially like the millennials, that generation, that like, oh, do what you love, and it's like, if you do what you love, you're probably going to be broke. So, unless what you love is something that other people will pay you to do, right? Which is, again, that's the exception. So if you want the stability, if you want kind of a guaranteed source of income where you can have a good life and you can have that family and you can have the 9 to 5 and the house and whatever you're trying to do with life, go into the trades. You're gonna make more. I'm telling you, you will make more. You're gonna work hard, but you will make more money in the long run. And not only that, but if you go into something like IT, like I did, which I wouldn't recommend that unless you really love computers, because me personally, I went into IT for the money, and I'll tell you, I kind of hated it. I really grew to not like it after a while. And it wasn't even so much the work. It was the environments that you have to do that work in. It was the people. It was corporate America. It was putting up with these middle of the road IQ people, these managers that are just, they know everything and anything when it comes to the policy of the company, but they don't actually have any critical thinking skills when it comes to solving technical problems. And it's like, it was so frustrating to me to be in these positions to where I'm taking orders from somebody that I know for a fact that I have far more technical knowledge than, and they're coming to me for answers on how to solve the problems for the actual work that we're there to do, but then they get paid $20,000 more a year than me to sit there and tell me about policy and approve my time off. And it's like, oh, you want to take a week off? Well, you got to be here 10 years before you can do that. You know what I mean? It's just dumb. It's stupid. It's like corporate America is not going to reward you for performance. They're going to reward you for conformance, right? And that was definitely what I figured out after about 3 years of doing that. So all that to say that if you want to avoid that trap and actually have a good life, right, then starting your own business really, it's not for everybody. And like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say, oh, just start your own business. It's not that simple. Starting your own business is hard. You're going to work a lot of unpaid hours, and you're going to, it's a tough thing to do. I mean, not everybody's an entrepreneur, and not everyone should be an entrepreneur. Some people are just better suited for employment, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I will say is that, so close. What I will say is that if you are the type of person that's better suited for that, then going into something like IT is pretty tough to start your own business in. It's not impossible, but that's probably not the best trade for trying to become self-employed. Whereas you go into something like plumbing or something like HVAC or accounting even, right? Accounting, that's a great field. If you can look past how unbelievably boring that work is, accounting lends itself really, really well to remote work and to starting your own business, mostly because nobody wants to do it. So there's that. But also, like, all you're sitting there doing is people's taxes, right? You don't need a staff. You need maybe one other person, if that. I mean, and really you can do most of that work yourself, right? Especially in the beginning. That's one of the easiest things in the world to start your own business at. At least I would think it would be. And, so my point is the trades, like, just as a general rule, it's a lot easier to start your own business with something like that versus, say, if you're like a nurse, or if you're like a, just somebody like in IT, for example, that your skill set is kind of requires you to work in a big corporate environment. And I'll tell you, that was one of my biggest things is, like, again, I liked the work itself in IT. I did enjoy the problem solving aspects and getting to fix, technology related problems. What I hated was the environment of corporate America. It was just scummy, and like the everything was just politics all the time. Everything was, making sure you kissed the right butt, or you shook the right hand, or you wear the right shirt, or you made sure you combed your hair to the left or the right, or just really superficial surface level things that had nothing to do with your actual on the job performance, but were just about making sure that you were the right type of person, culturally speaking, that they liked. It had far less to do with your actual performance. Like, it didn't matter that you actually got the job done right. What mattered was that you had the right hairstyle, or that you told the right jokes. And I know that's not true in every environment. This is just my experience, but I've worked in a few places in corporate America now, and sorry, that was my experience. It was that I was a very good performer. I always got not only all my work done, but a lot of other people's work done too, and was constantly being approached by junior techs for advice and for help. But when it came time for that big raise or that promotion, they always promoted the person that they liked better, that they wanted to be around, that attended the office parties, and yada yada yada, right? And I mean, and that's the problem, is that that's not a reason to promote somebody because they look good in a yellow shirt. You know what I mean? Or because they're again, somebody that just has a better personality. Maybe that's just not the right move. And that's why that kind of stuff causes other people to lose motivation, and it's just bad for the whole company. But that's the problem. They don't see that. So I don't know. Maybe you like corporate America, but for me, I can say it was just a really bad experience, and I'm in no hurry to go back to that. I mean, if I absolutely had to, I would, just to pay the bills. But I don't think there's really, they'd have to pay me a lot to go back into that. And just to put up with the politics of it all, and the gatekeeping middle managers that they don't see an intelligent young man as an opportunity. They see it as a threat, and I can't deal with that anymore. So here I am trying to do this instead, right? So crazy, just crazy. I just can't say I would recommend it. I really can't say I'd recommend it. But who knows? I mean, maybe your experience was different. Maybe you've had, you know, maybe, like I said, maybe your experience was different. I can't see how, really, unless you're that type of person. And if you are, then, well, I don't know why you're here. But, you know, everyone's welcome, I guess. But, yeah, it just wasn't for me. It wasn't for me at all, I can say that. Oh, there we go. Come on. 9 strokes. Pretty bad. It's kind of hard to talk and play this game at the same time. But, it was a fun game. I've been playing this game a long time. Oh boy, down we go. Wouldn't it be cool to be in a place like this? Just like Candyland. There's a board game called Candyland. Probably most people here have heard of that. I played it maybe even. Played that game when I was a little kid. And there we go. That jump. But yeah, I don't know, man. I can't do it again. So I'm not exactly sure what the future is going to hold for me in terms of employment. I really don't know yet. I've been looking at a couple different things. Talking about going to the trades. I've been thinking about doing that. We'll see. I'm thinking about a lot of things, but I just know, like, I've actually had a few job offers since I recently became unemployed, and I don't know if I can bring myself to go back into that corporate environment again. I don't think I can do it. It just was so, yeah, I said it was scummy. I mean, it was just having to deal with those kind of people again, and having to deal with all the politics and the butt kissing and just everything that went into that. It's just not worth it to me anymore. It's not worth the extra $10,000 a year, you know what I mean? Just for that. It's just not worth it. I'd rather make a little bit less money or just have to struggle through to make my own business and actually be in charge of my own success or failure, rather than somebody above me that decided they don't like my personality being in charge of my success or failure and putting me and my family and my future in jeopardy because they feel threatened because they're lazy. So yeah, it's just crazy. I can't recommend it. So anyways, that's my rant, and I'll see you next time.
Loser.